50 years ago, NBC aired a new episode of the classic Star Trek series called The Changeling, and these are my honest opinions about it. We start with the Enterprise trying to find out why the Melurians sent a distress call and then stopped responding to any hails on any frequency. Spock claims that their whole civilization is gone, and before Kirk has a chance to correctly process the information, the Enterprise is attacked by some huge energy blasts. Thankfully for our heroes, the attacker later attempts to communicate instead of destroying the whole ship, and after the attacker downloads the language information from the Enterprise computer, they talk a bit and the attacker beams on board, and we get to see what the attacker actually is. It's a small robot. It requests to see the maps, to see where are they coming from, and when it finds out that the ship comes from Earth and hears Kirk's name, it assumes that James T. Kirk is actually the 21st century inventor Jackson Roy Kirk, the creator of this robot. This robotic probe is actually a 21st century probe called Nomad. Humans thought that Nomad was destroyed after it crashed into a meteor. However, the truth is that it actually crashed into a different alien probe, and the new Nomad was born. This Nomad is a mixture of both of the original probes, and even his mission is now a combination of the original missions. Instead of simply taking samples from other worlds, it now wants to sterilize all imperfect life forms. And yes, it wants to come back to the point of its origin, which means Earth. Earth, a planet filled with imperfect organic life forms, great candidates for extermination. So of course the Enterprise crew must destroy this Nomad for whatever it will take. They don't have only the crew to protect, but also the whole planet and every other planet which will be on the way to Earth. Kirk and Spock leave Nomad with an engineer, but Nomad hears Uhura's singing. Intrigued by the noise she makes, he goes to the bridge trying to find out what it was. Because Uhura's verbal responses make no sense to Nomad, he tries a different approach, a direct connection to her brain. When Scotty sees it, he wants to break the connection, but instead of it, he gets electrocuted. So now both crew members are quote-unquote gone. Uhura's memory was wiped, and Scotty is dead. When Nomad sees the creator is angry, he offers himself to revive Scotty, and he actually succeeds. So yes, Nomad is actually a robotic space Jesus. I really wonder if that was some intentional metaphor for Jesus and Christianity. It doesn't help that the two actors who quote-unquote kill this Mecha Jesus are in real life Jewish, or maybe I should spend less time on the internet and spend more time with real people, who knows. Unfortunately, Uhura can't be helped, but because her brain is not damaged, just empty, they decide to basically teach her everything she already knew before. And we see Christine Chapel help her with it. And a few of the shots make me wonder why they didn't inspire some other fanfiction. I mean, some fans wrote /fiction about Spock and Kirk, but I never heard about any stories about Uhura and Chapel. The interesting thing is that Uhura starts at one point speak Swahili, and Chapel asks her to speak English. So for all of the people who claim that the in-universe language the characters use is actually some universal language, nope, they actually do speak English. Spock tries to get more information about Nomad, but he refuses to cooperate, so Kirk orders him to allow Spock to mind meld with him. But when Nomad later refuses to release him, Kirk has to violently split them. Hooray! Spock's brain is fried. Oh wait, he's okay? Well, fine. Nomad is in jail, but force fields are no match for him. When he leaves his cell, the security guards try to attack him, but they get vaporized. Nomad goes to engineering, where he starts to improve the engines, which almost destroys the Enterprise. Angry Kirk accidentally admits that even he himself is an organic being. Nomad doesn't know what to do with this information and he leaves. Again, 2 more security officers try to shoot him, so he kills even them. When they again find him, he is just leaving the sickbay and ignores Kirk's orders. The reason is very simple. He was on sickbay to check Kirk's personal medical records, and he decides to go to the engine room. Kirk finds the technicians unconscious and has a little logical talk with Nomad. When Nomad tells him that his mission is to destroy all imperfect life, Kirk admits that Nomad is not perfect. He has done 3 mistakes. He thought that Kirk is his creator Roy Kirk. He didn't find it out until Kirk himself admitted to him, and he even didn't correct his mistake. This has the only possible outcome. Nomad is imperfect and has to be destroyed. Thankfully, Scotty and Spock bring a pair of anti-gravs. They put Nomad inside and beam him out of the ship, and they just watch him explode in space. The show ends with a typical light-hearted scene on the bridge between Kirk, Spock and McCoy, and the end. I must admit, the first time I've seen this episode was actually after I've seen Star Trek the Motion Picture, so of course I was immediately comparing the 2 stories. Both stories have a satellite made on Earth, sent into space, then something happens to it. Humans think it's destroyed, but in reality the satellite was improved by some alien robots and sent back to Earth centuries later, only to be destroyed by Kirk and company. It's strange that they've chosen that premise for the movie. Did they forget they filmed this episode, or did they think that the audience forgot? It's hard for me to say which one is better. Star Trek the Motion Picture has much better effects and absolutely wonderful music, but the Changeling has much better pacing. It doesn't feature any padding. Every scene advances the plot in some way. However, there are some stupid things in this episode. Some really stupid things. Like erasing all of Uhura's memory and filling her head with the information she got over her whole life within a few days. That's something which I would expect from a comic book or a kid's superhero cartoon, but not from something which pretends to be a real sci-fi show for adults. I have also problems with Scotty's resurrection, not only from religious reasons. As I said before, despite I was growing up in a Catholic family, I'm not really a religious man myself, but from just scientific reasons. How did he even technically manage to do it? The machine doesn't even have hands. I always love when they do little in-jokes, so I think it's neat that when they talk about Jackson Roy Kirk, they show us a picture of Mark Daniels, the director of this one and many other episodes of the classic Star Trek. It's also quite strange to see Eddie Pesky in a gold uniform instead of his typical red, which he wore as Lieutenant Leslie. Billy Blackburn also appears in 3 different uniforms, which is also kind of funny. When he climbs up the ladder, he has his standard gold uniform, which he wears as Lieutenant Hadley. In a different corridor scene, he wears a blue uniform, and he also appears in a red uniform in a scene in the main engineering room. And I feel so embarrassed that I notice things like this. Yeah, I have no life. Overall, I really like this episode. Some scenes would need a rewrite or 2, but overall, it's really good and really entertaining. On my rating scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is total garbage, 10 is a masterpiece, and 5 is average, I would give this episode 8 out of 10. It's clearly one of the better episodes, but it has a bunch of small problems. But as always, those were just my opinions. Feel free to let me know what do you think about this episode down in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, I'm right now doing videos about 3 different Star Trek shows right now about Star Trek The Next Generation and Star Trek Discovery. So feel free to watch any of my previous videos about the previous episodes. You should see some links to some playlists on screen right now, and you're welcome to come back next time when I'll talk about the episode Mirror Mirror. Until then, thank you very much for watching and see you next time. Bye.